Can we just take a slight twist on this topic real quick, sticking with Andre Drummond? Since the trade talk started, does he appear to be off? Am I wrong in saying he appears to be off in his play since the trade talk started?
No.
I don't think you're necessarily wrong.
I'm not saying he's moping. God, I hate him. Not any of that. No, but he just appears to be a little off since the trade talks. Am I crazy here?
And you kind of wonder, is it because he wants to be in Detroit for the long term, and that idea of having to go elsewhere and not be the figurehead he is in Detroit maybe concerns him? Is that a real thing? Is that a thing where this franchise is stuck by Dre for a long time, and now all of a sudden all these reports are out that Detroit is engaging in trade talks, and Gore has been on record saying they're going to stick by Drummond, they're going to build with Drummond, they're going to, he is kind of the face of the franchise, if you will, and he's watching a young guy in Sekou emerge, and he's watching his name get thrown around, and people saying, yeah, trade him. Like, that would throw me off.
I mean, how does it not? You've been somewhere for the first 7-8 years of your career, and then all of a sudden, you've been pretty stable. You've not really been considered a trade target, and now all of a sudden, your name's being tossed around 7, 8, 9 teams.
Yeah,
how does that not kind of get in your head a little bit?
Might it be in Atlanta, New York?
Not only that, not just that there's trade talk, but also that teams throughout the league don't necessarily find him valuable. How is that playing with his psyche?
Right.
These reports coming out that teams rather take their chance in free agency rather than part way with any asset to get him, because they're not in any rush to get him. They'll take their chances in free agency. Is that playing with his psyche a little bit?
See, that's where I think that's a mistake of the team. The team's looking at Drummond, because Drummond is certainly of value. Drummond certainly does things that would help a team win ball games this year.
I agree. And that's what I'm saying. Is that getting in his head that he thought, like, I do bring a lot of value and I am a high-level player, and all of a sudden he's seeing these teams don't think that, and now he's kind of, wait a minute. He's questioning himself on top of the report that came out about how he thinks he's a max player, yet the Pistons offered significantly less. How much is this just messing with his psyche right now?
It's got to be killing him.
I think it's getting to him pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put up 16 and 17 or whatever against Atlanta, but he still did not seem right.
And that's why those stats don't speak the world to me. It's impressive, don't get me wrong. Averaging 18 and 17 is very impressive, and his blocks and his steals, and he does some things. I'm not trying to take that away. I'm not trying to negate what he provides on the floor, but it's just, I mean, Dre's even on record talking about, I saw somewhere he was talking, I think it was Reggie when he first got to town, going in and maybe taking a couple of Dre's rebounds, and he looked at him, he's like, hey, you don't do that. That's my rebound. That's what I get paid to do. I get paid to clean up the glass. Don't come take my boards. You get out of the way, you let me grab that rebound. That's why I get paid. So he kind of lives by that. And it's not as impressive as maybe the number shows. What I want to say in kind of conclusion of that, though, is I agree with your point of Dre provides value to a team. Dre can provide value to this Detroit Pistons team. If Dre's here for the long term, which is not necessarily how I want to see the long-term plan go, but if he is, Dre can continue to provide value. Dre playing the 5 with Sekou as the 4 going forward can work. I don't think it fits the right timeline, unless if Detroit really reshapes where they're headed, or if they say, man, with Sekou playing at this level, we make a little acquisition in the offseason, maybe we really are not far away from trying to compete at a higher level. If D. Rose is going to be an all-star level point guard, I guess it just depends the way they see their future at the end of this season. But I don't know. Dre's a weird topic. It's got me rambling. I just don't even know.
Yeah, we've
I don't
really
know where
gone
the hell
off
I
on
was
a
going.
tangent, kind of hitting everywhere here. But that's kind of what Drummond has done lately in terms of the talk around him. There's so many things going on with him. It's the contract extension, moving into trade talk, moving into he still wants to be a Piston, and all these different things have just kind of made it really hard to talk about Drummond in a straight line. And, I whether the Pistons keep him or not, he's a valuable player. I think it gets a little bit tricky for Detroit to keep him when they're playing Sekou at the 4, and Sekou's playing well at the 4. You're still committed to Blake Griffin for another 2 years. I think it gets hard to do that unless you're positive Sekou can be a 3, and you're going to start finding minutes for him at the 3 to make sure of that. But Drummond is a good basketball player, and for these teams in the playoffs right now, not trading for Drummond is a terrible decision. I look at a team like Boston, and I know I talked about this on the podcast a few weeks ago, but I have 2 forwards in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown that are really figuring it out. Tatum and Brown have been fantastic. But they have Gordon Hayward, who's a forward, a former All-Star. He has the resume. He has all that pedigree where he deserves to be starting as well. And you have 3 forwards in your lineup. You don't need 3 of them. You really need a center. That's your weakest position. Because you can have Marcus Smart as your 2. You have other guys on the bench that you can go to on the wings and, the 2-3, whatever. You really need a center. Because Enes Kanter's not very good. Robert Williams has been hurt. Daniel Tice is okay. You don't trust Taco Fall yet. You really need a center. And what Drummond could do for that team, and I think the pick and roll dominance that him and Kemba Walker could have, if I'm Boston, how can you not trade for Drummond?
I feel the same way. Honestly, watching that Pistons-Celtics game the other night, I was like, Dre's a perfect fit for them. I'm like, he fits so well here. This would be great for Boston. This would take Boston to the next level, I feel.
The whole thing with Drummond is, right now, he is being asked to do too much offensively outside of his wheelhouse. You put him on a team with 1, a very good point guard, 2, 3 guys that can go and get buckets, and 3 vocal points of your offense, Brown, Kemba, and Tatum. And you let Drummond run the pick and roll, clean up the glass, focus in defensively, let his defense lead to his offense instead of giving him the ball at the high post and making him create for either himself or for others and posting him up and doing all that garbage. And you put him in a system that's actually for a player of his caliber and for a player of his style of play, and he's going to look phenomenal. If Drummond gets traded to a good team, I cannot wait to watch the agenda, the narrative around him to flip, because he's going to flourish, and all of a sudden it's going to be, oh, Andre Drummond's phenomenal. He's a great player. While when he's been in Detroit, he's an overpaid rebounder that doesn't provide anything offensively and is an albatross on defense. If he gets traded to a halfway decent team, I cannot wait for the narrative to flip.
If he gets traded to where it's a perfect fit, and I think Boston is the perfect fit for him, I think he's just going to flourish. I think it's going to be, multiple All-Star games in a row. He's going to help us take his team to the next level. That's what I see for Andre Drummond.
Yep.
Going to a system where he fits perfectly, and I can't get off of Boston being the perfect fit for him.
I don't disagree.